Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to look at another roasting method of coffee beans, that is using the Whirley Pop. This is a manual popcorn machine, old school style. Now you need a stovetop for this. All you do is just put some coffee beans in, and it has a rotating arm. There's a little gear here. All you do is rotate, and it has an arm inside which will rotate the beans, and as the beans heats up, you rotate the beans around. That's all. It's a simple mechanism. This is meant for making popcorns, but we are going to roast coffee beans using this Whirley Pop. Now, as I mentioned, that's a rotating gear, so you could rotate and the gear works, and there's a little arm inside, so you could rotate it both ways, and that will move the beans around, and it's more a manual method. Here I have my scale ready. I'm going to take 250 grams of beans. Okay, exactly 250 grams. So we are going to use this. So here I'm by the stove. You don't need to preheat this machine, but I'm going to switch it on now at high flame. Okay, so it's on now. Now I could put my beans in. $250 grams in. I think that's just enough to cover the whole surface, so I think that's the right number. I wouldn't recommend you to go beyond 250, or even 200 is a good number. So all you do is just rotate. Okay, that's all you do, and make sure you keep stirring. It's not really hard to stir, it's easy. But make sure you get that motion, and it is recommended to close the lid so that it keeps the smoke inside. I'm going to start the timer now, and let's see. We are 2 minutes into the roast. Now we are 4 minutes into the roast, and I see a lot of smoke coming up. And I have to ensure that I stir more often. So 4 minutes 42 seconds, I heard the first crack, and the beans are still looking yellowish, but I heard the first 1 or 2 cracks now. Five minutes into the roast process. At this time, I'm reducing my fire from high to 8. There's a lot of smoke coming up. It's 7 minutes now, and you could hear a lot of crack. It's going through the first crack cycle, and you can see a lot of chaff, and it's brown, medium roast. It's almost going to be 8 minutes. And I think it's looking like a nice medium roast. 8 minutes exactly now. And I'll switch it off now because the first crack is almost done. Another 30 seconds to go. A lot of smoke being generated. Okay, that's 10 more seconds. I think it's done. Okay, so that's 9 minutes. It's done. So I'm going to quickly run outside and cool the beans, and then we'll come back. As you can see, this is super oily because of the dark roast. Now this is how it looks like after roasting. For me, it looks very uniform. It's more to do with the lighting, but it looks very uniform to me. Obviously it has gone through the first crack fully, and maybe second crack, I don't know, because after the first crack everything was quick, and I should have reduced the heat a bit, or I should have switched off a bit earlier. But within 8 minutes, bang, it went through very quickly, and this is the result. And another thing I noticed, it looks very oily. Let me take some more so that you can have a closer look. I would say this is dark roast. Most of them are dark roast, though I wanted somewhere in between medium and dark. Okay, so now let's compare to the other beans that I roasted yesterday. This is using that coffee roaster machine. This is more like the level I wanted. Now you could have a comparison between these two. I don't know if the camera picks up well. This is how the beans from the electric roaster looks like, which has the control arm and it moves the beans around. And this is the one from the Whirley Popper, the manual method. I think you have more control on this. You could easily adjust the time. This is more quicker. Now for 250 grams it took me 8 minutes. I should have switched off by 7, so I would say 7 minutes to get the medium roast, and this took 45 minutes to reach this medium level. Now you don't have any control over this, you'll have to wait. This one you could adjust the heat and you could adjust the rotation speed. So obviously there are more advantage on using the Whirley Popper. Let's have a closer look. On my right is the one using the machine, the electric roaster. And here we have the one from the manual method, which is the Whirley Pop. Yeah. So that's how you roast your coffee beans in a Whirley popper. This is the popcorn machine, which is old school style manual method. Now I really love the way that it roasted. I could see a lot of coffee oils because it went through very high heat compared to other types of roasting processes that I covered in my channel. Another reason is obviously it has gone through the first crack and I think second crack as well, because there's a lot of oil in this. So I'm assuming that it went through the second crack, or at least it started doing the second crack. It's very oily, even just by the touch you can get oil. Now, how do I compare this to other roasting methods that I showed you? I would say this is definitely a good way of roasting beans. A few reasons. First reason is the heat. This can generate a lot of heat and you can control the heat as you want. This is definitely going above 500-600 degrees, I'm assuming. So you have to really control the heat down to 350-450 range. The other thing is you have control over the rotating speed. With those two controls, you can obviously control the time. So if you want quicker, you increase the heat and then you'll be able to switch off more earlier. But you'll have to go through this roasting cycle to learn which method is better. I'm still researching regarding the time. Is it better to roast the coffee beans in very high heat, or is it better to roast the beans in a very medium heat? Like the other methods that I showed you, those are like medium or low medium heat. Is that the one better, or giving more heat quickly, is it a better method? I'm still finding out. So I'm going to taste all these coffee beans and I'll be doing a review of everything together, and I will reveal what I personally liked out of all these roasting methods. So if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe. I'll be posting a lot of videos related to coffee, how to roast coffee at home and other things. So stay tuned, guys. And if you like this video, please hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.